the three heroes of the series of Brave Master, Fairy Tail, and Eden Zero have all finally united together in this chapter. We got chapter 4, Oasis, and from what I understand, Heroes is going to be 10 chapters, so after this next chapter, we're going to be at the halfway point. So here we are now at the whole culmination of the series, all finally just linking up. So the chapter actually starts out with Gray. Gray is getting looted by the tentacles too, so you can't say Hiramashima only loots the girls. The dudes get looted too. I mean, Gray's naked half the time. But you have Genesis, who's just annoyed. He doesn't want to see a guy get looted. He wants to see the chicks. That was part of his whole I have now all the power thing. He's like, well, I can do a lot of godlike stuff, but you know, he's still a guy. He wants to see some lewdness. But from that, Gray's annoyed. He ends up freezing up the tentacles, just icing them over. It was funny because you have Lucy, who's competent. She's a competent fighter, but she needs to be able to use her keys to summon someone of her celestial spirits to do something, or use one of her star dresses. And Rebecca, who's a really good marksman, she obviously can't do anything at the moment without her guns. And we don't know the full extent of like how her ether gear works, if she needs to, you know, die in order to do it, or if she has any form of skill with it that would let her undo these events. And Ursa's just being tickled, so she's much more in a, like, hard to resist in a funny way, rather than these two other girls who are just like, this is gross, I don't want this to happen. And Gray's just like, nope, not having this. What's funny also is, as you had, like, Wendy's wasn't really lewd, it was just, like, constricting. It just kind of, like, wrapped around her, her chest and around her waist. There was no bondage-looking stuff in there. At least, anything beyond just, like, a straight, like, yeah, you're constricted. And thank you, Gray, for stopping tentacles before they did anything further. Can't lewd the lily anyway. Now that they are free, Lucy's able to, you know, she summons up Cancer, who's, you know, just slicing through all these tentacles. You got Gray continuously freezing them, Wendy using her wing attack to cut them up. Ursa obviously got swords. Rebecca doesn't have her guns, but here's Ursa giving her a bow and arrow, so now she's at least able to do that. I'm wondering if she's like, where does she get more arrows? I'm gonna assume that it's a magic bow, because when she summons the bow, there is no arrow like seen, but as soon as Rebecca holds on to it, bam, arrow in hand. So, you know, you just give it to her. She doesn't need to ask where she's getting all this ammunition from. Just assume it's a magic bow. I mean, it is summoned through magic. But then, you know, Julia and Let, you know, obviously they were against Shiki and Natsu, but now all these like big spooky looking amorphous, like, I can't even call them shadow. They look like sketch beings, like legitimately, like, which I think is really cool. They just have that almost doodle-like personification to them. Well, not personification, just pretty much just design to them, which I really like. And then one thing I noticed that is really interesting, and I want to know how many people else caught this, is when they're like, okay, we need to form a truce, we gotta help these people. There's a little girl being chased by one of the monsters, and Natsu and Shiki go and help the little girl. But if you look at the little girl, you look at her hair, she has the same flower design and the same haircut style as Xiao Mei from Eden Zero, who is like this oracle that, you know, knows all of the past and future within, you know, the Eden Zero universe. I'm wondering if maybe, like, the reason that she knows all this stuff is she's from this kind of, like, conjoined universe where all three series are connected, and there's, like, some weird higher transcendence she achieved from it, because it's not just like, oh, she has a similar hair design. I mean, the flower in there as well is like dead on, like with Xiao Mei. So coincidence? I'm wondering if it will have any relevancy to the series, or if it's just like maybe they wanted, you know, Hiramashima wanted to put that in there. Maybe it's like, oh yeah, well, she exists in this world too, but not as the same character or something like that. You know, it's given that large multiverse, like anything can happen kind of setting. But then we get to Homura. She's back with Goch and Ichiya, and he's like saying he's gonna like cut her ropes with his butt, and you just get a lot of like really funny moments between them. And when Ichiya And she like just asks him if he ever, he ever wipes his ass, and he's like, I would never do that in my life. That is completely against code. And I mean, the dude, listen, the dude's got a big weird butt, and he's not a handsome man. And not only that, he wears a skin-tight jumpsuit. He's probably gross enough. I mean, you gotta add that layer onto it, never wipes. It's just, I think that would be the thing for me, just to be like, all right, dude, don't come near me. Don't ever come near me. Listen, I think you're already kind of weird, but I mean, that is like the thing that kind of ties it off. Just quit it. Don't come anywhere near me. Meanwhile, they're like, all right, we need to leave. But Goshen's like, I can't leave. My lackeys, they got lost in this. I have to save them. And Ichia just doesn't want to abandon a member. He doesn't want to abandon somebody who doesn't want to leave friends like this. He's moved by the perfume of friendship. Whereas Samura's just like, what is going on here? And Ghost is like, okay, you guys can end up being lackeys. You can hold the positions for them and stand in place. And she is all on board for this. He doesn't have the same level of jiggling butt, but he is on board with aiding this dude and standing in for them. And Homura's just watching all this go by as like just a passer in this, and she's just like, I don't really know what to do. But as soon as the two lackeys, Lackey A and Lackey B, show up, which always, what's funny to me is like, I barely remembered their boss's name as a member of the Jigglebug gang. I just remembered them as a unit. It was always funny to me that the two lackeys, their names were Lackey A and Lackey B, but at least their leader got a name. I wonder where his dad is, because I know his dad was in a part of Wravemaster for just like one page. Meanwhile, they're like, oh yeah, we also found a stand-in boss as well, and here comes in Moscow, completing that trio of the silly characters that join in the fray, and just a moment where he's talking to Ichia, and they're just having some bonding moments, and you have poor Homura who's just seeing 3 sets of comic relief characters all in one room. Characters who are already goofy enough on their own, all in some form of silly nuclear fusion, all just linking up to each other like that was a very strange occurrence. But to be perfectly honest, I wanted this to happen as much as I want to, like, okay, yeah, I want all the comparison characters to get, a moment at least together. Obviously, we know that Shiki, Natsu, and Haru are all going to unite because they're the main characters in this. We're going to get Ellie, Lucy, and Rebecca. But like stuff like, okay, yeah, the mascots as well, Plu, Happy, and Pino. Yeah, I want that as well. I want to see those characters interact because they're fun. And then just, we needed at least one part of the comic relief characters just passing by. We needed at least one part, and this was it. I like that we also got it out of the way early. We didn't have it near the end. We just got it out, the funniness, right before all the serious stuff happens, because Genesis is remaking the temple, because the first thing he's going to do is he wants to remake the island into his castle. So that's going to be really cool, that the fact we're going to have like this raid boss event layout. He's just reconstructing everything to make himself like, I want something just like a very straightforward bad guy castle, please. I really want that to be the case, and then to see these 3 like storm it together. But at that point, you have Shiki Haru separated from his group, and then landing and smacking head on Natsu, who at that point you get this, where the 3 characters are all meeting finally. Unfortunately, but not a big deal, it doesn't look like not Shiki, I'm messing up right at the end, that Haru and Natsu remember each other, so it looks like the Wravemaster Fairy Tail crossover isn't canon to this, and it's going to be its own thing. Whereas now, this is going to be them finally all meeting, well, where you have Haru in the fray the first time. I mean, it could easily be next chapter they remember each other, and then that chapter is tied to this, but as it is right now, it's not, and you have these 3 characters fully uniting together. And I would like to say, I definitely called Shiki's role in this, because I knew that Shiki, the first sight of like Haru in this, would want to be friends with him too, because that's pretty much who Shiki is. He's just some awkward kid who just wants to make friends with people. And I'd see Natsu and Haru getting in a fight again very shortly. Regardless if that chapter ties in, I see them getting into some form of quick little scuffle, and Shiki being the middleman to separate him in this. So there's that. We have now these characters all finally together, getting ready to go about a big boss battle to storm this castle, probably fight a cool couple monsters along the way, and have like just this big grand battle of Genesis. I mean, come on, we're already at that setup for the bad guy. I'm assuming out of 10 chapters, because they said for 10 weeks. So I'm assuming 10 chapters, and from that, we can easily have, 3 to 4, probably I'm guessing 3 chapter just battle of, Genesis. You can't have it settled in one chapter, because each of these characters are going to need their own time to shine in this, and really just, show up what they got, but also the characters get along, and probably have, like, the last, like, 1 or 2 chapters as, like, a cool down and just fun character interactions and send-off for all of them. But it was a nice setup. I know the next chapter is called Mix, and this one Oasis. It's really weird how he's having all of the chapters in big, bold English letters, which is pretty Hiroshima-like. I know how much he really likes Western influences, and he's already said that the people in his series pretty much speak English, like Western English. So, I mean, it's not surprising in a way that if you know Hiroshima, but it's surprising that he's purely doing bold like English at this point, and not just like mixing raw English chapters in with Japanese and whatnot. But so from here on out, we're gonna have the characters all matching out and getting ready to go at it. I want to see this castle mix chapter. I'm really hoping the next chapter, they've already kind of dealt with each other, and they're like, okay, now we need to work together. The castle's made, and it's like, all right, now we got to storm this castle, take on this bad guy, destroy the Oasis, and pretty much save this island, because now this island is in jeopardy of the influence of Genesis, and not just the island. It looks like he wants to reshape the whole world. So I'm wondering what the full level of range and like just scale that Oasis can reach off to. That though we will find out, because we know that Hiroshima's been going crazier with some of the levels of power after like near the end of Rave to like where he is now, a fairy tale, to pretty much like some of the big shots already set up in Eden Zero. So we're probably gonna get to see some crazy stuff with like the full power of Genesis and Oasis. Anyway, comment below, tell me what you thought about the chapter and how you thought about how this all going down. I would like at least a short scuffle with Haru and Natsu, and then just Shiki being like awkwardly trying to separate them, or maybe be like, oh, maybe this is what friends do, and try and join in. Please do this. Anyway, like I said, comment below. I really appreciate if you would thumbs up the video, but from the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.